Hello and welcome to Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I'm a licensed Zumba instructor and I'm an affiliate with the Juice Plus company. And my missions in life are to help people understand that life is better when you're dancing through it and to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level, because we only get one body while we're here on earth and we need to be joyful while we're taking care of it. And I love talking with people who bring more joy and love and light into the world, because don't we need more of that these days? And people who impact the world in positive ways. And so I get to have these great conversations with people that I find very interesting or who can make a difference in this world. And one of those people is who I'm talking with today, Pershard Owens. And I met you, Pershard, just last summer as we were getting ready for our local tennis tournament, and you signed up to play in the tournament. And little did I know that you were some ringer from the Cape Girardeau area, and you were like this amazing tennis player. And then I found out that you were a recording artist. And so conversations ensued about your singing career. And it's very exciting. You've sung on the Kelly Clarkson show. You sing the national anthem at major sporting events, St. Louis Blues and Kansas City Royals. And I'm sure you have all kinds of other things you can tell us about. But I'd love to get to know you just a little bit better and figure out how you got from there to here. And I think that some people will find it a very interesting story. So Pershard, can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you even got interested in music and what that looked like for you, and where tennis came along in the middle of it?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. I usually don't do crazy interviews like that because I'm very I'm a very not sheltered, but I like to just stay chill and not talk about much, but your energy is amazing. So I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks.
So I grew up in Charleston, Missouri. My dad was it still is a police officer, my mom's a teacher. And I come from two musical families. My dad's side sings, and then my mom's side sings as well. So I started off in church, as most will probably already guess. And that's how I got my singing beginnings. As far as tennis, I started watching Venus and Serena, and tennis is a sport where I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me in tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw Venus and Serena, and then I learned about Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson, I was like, okay, this is a cool sport. And I think that started around like 8 or 9, like my interest in it. And then from then on, I just loved the sport.
I think that's great. And you got to go to Arthur Ashe Stadium just not too long ago for the US Open. And yeah, so I love tennis as well. I'm not a good tennis player, but I love to watch it and I love to be part of it. And so I love that you are putting yourself into the position where you can be that person for someone else, because it's, like if you can see it, you can be it. And so you are now a tennis coach for a school tennis team in Cape Girardeau, right?
Yeah, and that like randomly happened. I'd always seen myself coaching at some point, and I was in the tennis tournament in Cape. And one of the parents at the high school was just like, hey, we have an opening, and I think I'm gonna tell my AD about you. And I was like, okay, cool. So, and I say that to say most of the blessings that I've gotten in life have come, and it was so easy. And I've realized that things that you're supposed to have, most of the time, it's just gonna happen organically. I feel like push things and you try and coerce things, it doesn't necessarily work. So it came out of the blue, and I was just like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. So I'm just gonna go and trust that you're doing something, and I'm just gonna go with it. And that's what I did. So yeah, it's amazing.
Now that's great, because right before we hit the record button, I mentioned a Facebook post that you had not too long ago, and it said that being delayed doesn't mean always being denied, that
Yeah.
you pretty much have to sort of wait for the right thing to happen, and then it should be easy. And I heard someone else say, don't pry it into happening, pray it into happening.
Mhm.
Because, you know, if it's supposed to happen, if, you know, if this is like meant to be, then it's going to happen one way or the other. It might just take longer than we think it's
Right.
supposed to take. But all things happen, you know, according to the right timing.
Yes.
So when I met you, I thought, wow, this guy has some really cool energy around him. And you were very, you know, joyful and just, you know, really had this outgoing kind of persona when you were talking about things that really excited you. And that I saw that about tennis, I saw that about music, and you actually had to drop out of the tennis tournament early because you were singing at an event in St. Louis. And so can you tell us, you know, first of all, how did you end up on the Kelly Clarkson show? And how did you end up being the national anthem singer for these major sporting teams? How does that even happen? And I know you do other performances all over the place.
Right.
So
Right. Well, Kelly Clarkson happened. It was like one of those random blessings that happened. I got on TikTok one day and she was having people do like a duet with her on TikTok, like a video that she had. And I was just sitting in my office in Sykeston. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, you know, do the duet and see and just post it. I did it in one take. And I've also found when I don't think about things, it also comes out a lot better. So I did it one take and I was like, I'm just gonna post and see what happens. And then a couple of days later, the producers of the show reached out on TikTok and was like, hey, we'd like to talk to you. And I was like, okay, is this real? And I was like, okay. And I had the blue check and I was like, okay, it's a show. And then we did an interview and I was traveling to Jefferson City for work. And they were like, hey, do you got a couple minutes? And I was like, yeah. So we did a Zoom call. We talked for about 10 minutes and they were like, hey, hold on a second. We want you to fix your camera angle and then we'll come back. So when I came back, I'm waiting. And then the screen pops open and it's Kelly. And she's like, hey. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
oh, isn't that cool?
Yeah. So then she invited me along with 4 other people to come out to LA and we sang on the show. And we're still in contact with, you know, her people at the show. And hopefully some things are gonna, you know, turn out from that.
Oh, that would be great.
You know,
I've watched
but
the video. I've watched the
yeah,
video. You're very good.
yeah. So that was cool. And then the national anthems that I also sing at tennis events like the Miami Open, the Atlanta Open, and then Western and Southern in Cincinnati. And that kind of just happened because of my love of tennis. And then I was just like, hey, I wonder if they need a national anthem singer. So I reached out, and then I've built those bonds that they now know. You know, I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. So I get invited to different tennis events now to sing as well. So it's like, okay, I get to sing, and then I get to watch my favorite sport. So it's a win-win situation. So that's how those.
Have you
two
been
things
to
came
Indian
about.
Wells? Have you been to Indian Wells?
I haven't, but Andrew Krasny, who is he's one of the interviewers there, works for Tennis Channel as well. He's trying to get me to come out there next year to come and sing. So it's a possibility for next year.
That would be very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite singing engagement that you've had so far?
Favorite singing, I mean, it has to be the Kelly Clarkson show. You know, just finally getting to, you know, a syndicated, you know, TV show and daytime TV that's won Emmys, you know.
Well, and it's Kelly Clarkson.
And it's Kelly
she's
Clarkson.
one of the most adorable, amazing, genuine, talented humans that there is.
And she is not one of these people who is like, oh, she's nice in front of the cameras and mean. No, she was amazing to all of us. She talked to us. They treated us really well when we were out there. It was a very positive environment. And she's just like an all-around person that you want to look up to. If you look up to any type of celebrity, she's the one that, you know, you want to look up to because she's just a genuine person.
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really great. So tell me about the difference between, you know, when you're like in a stadium for a baseball game, or you're in a dome for a hockey game, and you've got all those people around, and yeah, there's a camera like on you while you're doing that. But that's so different than being in a studio with a smaller studio audience with
Right.
all the lighting, multiple cameras coming from different angles, and you've got to hit your mark. And you've got to, like, I'm guessing that you just met those other singers that you were performing with.
Yeah.
And then you got the little ear thing, which I don't know how I could even possibly sing with something like that in my ear. But, there's a lot going on. So had you been in any kind of a situation before that was similar to that? Or was this the first time that you had to put all of those elements into the same place at the same time and still hit the right notes?
On the Kelly Clarkson show or the national anthems?
Kelly Clarkson show.
So I do theater as well.
Oh, good.
So meshing with people that you necessarily don't know, it's something that I've like learned to do over the years, because it's something that I've always done. I met the first person at the airport, and you have to mesh and you bond, and over the days we just were in a room together, and we just kept talking and learning about each other, and on screen you can actually see the bond that we all made. So it's just about making sure that chemistry is there, and it was just an amazing opportunity, and I'm actually still friends with everybody from the show, and we still talk at least like once or twice a week.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I always say that music is fuel for the soul, and it doesn't matter what kind of music somebody listens to, as long as it really fills up their soul. I also say dance is the oil. So we've got the fuel and the oil, and dance you got to have as part of it. But I'm just wondering about something I saw on Facebook that you posted, and I know you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and it's always at Pershard Owens. Yes. And so if anybody who wants to find you, or they can go and Google you on YouTube and find the Kelly Clarkson video, and probably several other videos, because I think I found several. But you did something recently where you covered a song from way back. And if you could tell us about that, and how you got, first of all, permission to use it from the artist, the original artist, and how that even happened, and what did that mean? Tell us about the song, why you chose it, and the process of that.
Yeah, so the song that we were actually cleared to do is an R&B hit called "I Wish" by Carl Thomas, who's an R&B legend in my opinion. And I worked with two amazing producers, Amani Edge and Dance. And what you have to do when you're covering a song, you have to get clearance from that artist and their label, who they're under. And a lot of times that is super difficult to do. So when the opportunity presented itself, it was like, hey, we got this song that we want to redo. We got cleared for it. And then I was like, okay, what song is it? And then I found out what song it was. And I was like, yes, I'm all in for that. So it was cleared. Then we have to, record the vocals, and then they have to actually okay that. So everything just kind of worked in our, and that's what I mean. It was just a smooth process, and everything just went so smooth. And that's how I kind of knew that it was, meant to be. And the track is doing amazing right now. That's just kind of how it happened. But it's a process, and sometimes you don't get approved, and sometimes you do. And we just were fortunate to get it approved, and now it's out there for people to enjoy and listen to and have those nostalgic moments.
Right. That is great. That's great. So you said that you really love the R&B style, the genre. And so is that mainly what you work with now, or do you really kind of go across all different genres whenever you're performing? I know do you perform solo, or do you perform with the same other musicians as a band, or what is your main go-to?
So it depends what show I'm doing. Like if I'm in St. Louis, I'm usually doing a cover show with Bob Cervera, who's a talented musician here in St. Louis, and we do covers.
Mhm.
If I'm doing a show as Pershard, just me, it's myself and two dancers, and it's a full experience. So
So do you play, let me just interrupt real quickly. Do you play the keyboards, or do you just use soundtracks, or what do you do?
I'm just on vocal, and Bob plays the keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very organic, very type of song. I mean, but we play everything from Aerosmith to Marvin Gaye. So it's a very, eclectic
Uh-huh.
type of show. But yeah, but like I said, when I'm doing shows for like as myself, it's just myself and then my two dancers, and it's like a full production show.
Great. Now, where did the dancers come from? Are they people that you've known for a long time? Do they live near you, or do you just connect with them in St. Louis or wherever you happen to be going?
Well, I'm big on giving youth opportunities. So the two dancers that I work with are dancers who are from Sikeston, Missouri, and Charleston. One's named Jordan Parker. She's from Sikeston, and then Octavia is from Charleston, and they're in dance groups in Charleston, in Sikeston. And I met them because they worked with Lincoln University, which is where I work, and are super talented, and they are the girls that dance when I do my shows, and everybody that has seen them perform is like just blown away because they're insane. So yeah, that was one of my main things, to make sure I give youth from the area those opportunities, because it also adds to resumes and it helps them, to go on to different places. So that's definitely important to
Oh,
me as well.
sure, sure. Well, so we just have a few minutes left here. And so I love that you brought the youth into this conversation, because since you're a tennis coach,
Mhm.
uh, I would love for you to just talk about that for just a little bit, because I saw a friend of mine post something recently about, if you think your kids are in high school sports in order to get a college scholarship, you're wrong. Your kids are in high school sports to learn teamwork, personal development, confidence, like all kinds of things that have nothing to do with scholarships. And so
Mhm.
do you want to talk about that a little bit, and how, because I think that you as a coach and you as a singer are very much the same person doing many of the
Mhm.
same things, but because you're working directly with those kids, what would you like to share about that?
I mean, it's definitely some of the same things, but I always tell, like right now we're in girl season, so I always tell them, I give them the quote of Billie Jean King: "Pressure is a privilege, and if you feel pressure, that means you're doing something right."
Mhm.
So I go in and I try and teach them life lessons, like working hard. Nothing in life is going to be handed to you. I don't care who you are. It's not going to be handed to you. You're going to have to work for it, and that's one of the main things that I try, and instill. And of course, you want to win. Everybody wants to be a part of a winning team. But those life lessons and molding young women and young men into people of society that are functioning and thriving, that's another part that I like to make sure that I'm doing my part to help them achieve that. But it's an amazing experience, being a coach.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And a lot of times you don't realize what kind of an impact you're having on that young person's life until many years later.
Right.
Many years later. So just know that whatever you're doing, you are making a difference. And whether it is when you step in front of the microphone, or you're in front of a kid on a tennis court, or you're just here sitting there in your Zoom screen talking to me, your light is shining, and I appreciate you. And I thank you for sharing just a little bit of your story. Do you have anything you want to wrap this up with?
No, just treat people like you want to be treated. Be that change you want to be, and just have a positive mindset, and make sure that you realize being delayed is not being denied, and you have to just make sure that you're ready for when your moment comes.
That is perfect. Thank you so much, Pershard. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.